Have you ever walked away from a conversation replaying it in your head, thinking of all the things you could have said? The perfect comeback, the sharper argument, the line that would have finally made them understand. And yet, even when you did speak, even when you explained yourself clearly, calmly, logically, you still felt small, as if the more you talked, the less powerful you became. Maybe you've been in rooms where the loudest voice wins, where confidence is measured in volume, where interruptions are normal, mockery is disguised as humor, and dominance is mistaken for strength. And somewhere along the way, you started believing that if you stayed silent, you were losing. That if you didn't defend yourself immediately, you were weak. But what if that belief is the real trap? What if the strongest position in the room is not the one that speaks first, but the one that doesn't feel the need to speak at all? We have been conditioned to react, to respond instantly, to correct, to clarify, to justify. Social media rewards speed. Arguments reward aggression. And the ego? The ego rewards noise, because deep down most reactions are not about truth. They are about validation, about protecting an image, about proving that we matter. When someone challenges you, it doesn't just question your idea. It touches your identity. And the ego panics. It whispers, "Say something. Don't let this slide. If you stay quiet, they'll think you're weak." But look closer. Who is really in control in that moment? The person who can't stop themselves from reacting, or the one who can? Silence is uncomfortable, not just for others, but for you. Because silence forces you to sit with your own emotions. It forces you to resist the impulse to defend yourself. It demands discipline, and discipline is rare. Most people speak to relieve tension. They argue to discharge insecurity. They over-explain because they are afraid of being misunderstood. But the person who can hold their ground without scrambling to justify themselves sends a different message entirely. It says, "I know who I am. Your opinion does not shake me." That kind of presence cannot be faked. It cannot be shouted into existence. It is felt. Think about the last time someone tried to provoke you. Maybe they criticized your choices. Maybe they questioned your abilities. Maybe they tried to pull you into a pointless debate. Imagine if instead of reacting, you paused. You looked at them calmly. You let the silence stretch just a little longer than expected. Do you know what happens in that space? Their confidence starts to crack. Because when you don't react, they lose control of the script. They don't know what you're thinking. They start filling the silence with their own doubts. Did I go too far? Did that not affect them? Are they judging me? Silence becomes a mirror, and most people are terrified of their own reflection. But let's be clear. There are two types of silence. One is fear. The kind that swallows your words because you don't believe you deserve to speak. The kind that stays quiet to avoid conflict at any cost. That silence shrinks you. It builds resentment. It teaches people that your boundaries are negotiable. That silence is not power. It is suppression. And suppression always has a price. The other kind of silence is chosen. It is deliberate. It is rooted in self-respect. You are not quiet because you are scared. You are quiet because you refuse to waste your energy. You understand that not every comment deserves a response. Not every accusation deserves a defense. Not every battle deserves your participation. There is a different kind of strength that emerges when you stop trying to win every argument. When you realize that the need to win is often a sign that you are still seeking approval. Real power is not in defeating someone verbally. It is in being so grounded in your values that disagreement does not destabilize you. When you stop arguing for your worth, something shifts. You start observing more, listening more carefully. You notice inconsistencies. You hear the insecurity hidden beneath arrogance. You see how often people speak not from confidence, but from fear of being invisible. And here is the paradox. The less you feel the need to prove yourself, the more seriously people take you. When you speak rarely but intentionally, your words carry weight. When you are not constantly explaining yourself, your presence becomes heavier. People lean in. They pay attention. Because you are no longer competing for space, you are owning it quietly. This is not manipulation. It is mastery. Mastery over your impulses. Mastery over your ego. Mastery over the urge to react emotionally just to feel momentarily powerful. Psychologically, silence disrupts expectations. In most confrontations, there is a predictable pattern: attack, defense, escalation. When you remove your part from that cycle, the pattern collapses. The other person is left alone with their own intensity. Without resistance, their aggression often exposes itself. It looks excessive. It looks desperate. And you remain steady. That steadiness is unsettling because it cannot be controlled. People can argue with your words. They cannot argue with your composure. But this path is not easy, because staying silent when your pride is hurt feels almost unbearable. Your heart races. Your mind screams for a comeback. You imagine how satisfying it would be to put them in their place. And sometimes, yes, speaking up is necessary. Silence is not about becoming passive or tolerating disrespect. It is about choosing your moments. It is about understanding that power is not in constant reaction, but in controlled response. When you do speak, it should be intentional, precise, calm, a single sentence that ends the noise, because it is rooted in truth, not ego. There will also be times when silence is no longer strength, but self-betrayal. When you are being consistently dismissed, manipulated, or drained. In those moments, silence must transform into boundaries, into clear, firm communication. Because real self-mastery is not about never speaking. It is about knowing why you are speaking. If you are silent out of fear, you need courage. If you are silent out of control, you have power. Learn to tell the difference. Look at your life honestly. How often do you over-explain your decisions? How often do you justify your dreams to people who have already decided not to understand you? How often do you argue with someone who isn't even trying to listen? Every time you do, you give away a piece of your energy, and energy is your most valuable resource. Imagine what would happen if you redirected that energy inward, toward growth, toward discipline, toward becoming so solid in your identity that outside opinions feel like background noise. There is something magnetic about a person who does not chase validation, who does not rush to fill every silence, who can sit comfortably in a room without performing for approval. That kind of person radiates stability, and stability is rare in a world addicted to noise. When you master your silence, you stop being easily provoked. You stop being predictable. You become harder to manipulate because you are no longer reacting from wounds. You are responding from awareness. This is not about becoming cold. It is not about shutting people out or playing psychological games. It is about emotional discipline. It is about choosing depth over drama. It is about understanding that your worth does not increase because you won an argument. and it does not decrease because someone disagreed with you. When you truly accept that, something inside you settles. You don't feel the same urgency to defend yourself. You don't feel the same anxiety when misunderstood. You know that not everyone needs access to your explanations. And here is the final truth. Silence alone will not make you powerful. Self-knowledge will. Silence is simply the external expression of internal clarity. If you are confused about who you are, silence will feel like emptiness. If you are clear about who you are, silence will feel like strength. So the real work is not just learning to hold your tongue. It is learning to hold your center, to build an identity that does not crumble under criticism, to develop a mind that observes before reacting, to cultivate a presence that speaks even when you do not. From this moment on, start experimenting. The next time someone tries to drag you into unnecessary conflict, pause, breathe, let the silence stretch. Notice what happens. Notice how much of your usual reaction is habit, not necessity. Notice how powerful it feels to choose restraint. And when you do decide to speak, let it be deliberate. Let it be calm. Let it be enough. Because the loudest person in the room is not always the strongest. The strongest is often the one who could say everything, but doesn't need to. The one who understands that true authority is quiet, that real confidence does not beg to be recognized. It simply stands. And if this message resonates with you, if you're ready to stop reacting out of insecurity and start responding from strength, then carry this with you. You don't have to win every argument to win your life. Sometimes, the most powerful move you can make is to say nothing at all and mean it.